Hello and welcome back to Study Sessions, the English Literature Revision podcast from St. George's. Now, in today's episode, we're turning to Stave 3 of Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol, the second of the three spirits. This episode is designed to support Year 9 students reading the text independently and to help you unpack the characters, the imagery, and indeed Dickens's messages that really shape Scrooge's journey of moral and spiritual transformation. Now, when the stave opens, Scrooge awakens ready, although nervously, for the second of Marley's promised spirits. As the bell tolls one, his bedroom is transformed into a bright, festive scene filled with greenery, light, and indeed an enormous feast. And sitting atop it all was a giant figure, the ghost of Christmas Present. This spirit is a striking contrast to the rather unsettling and somewhat eerie ghost of Christmas Past. He, the ghost of Christmas Present, is warm, joyful, and larger than life, clothed in a green robe trimmed with white fur, holding a torch shaped like a cornucopia or a horn of plenty. He embodies, as a ghost, everything generous and celebratory about Christmas. But although the ghost of Christmas Present is jovial, he is also very serious in his purpose. Now, the ghost, to begin with, takes Scrooge on a sweeping journey across London, showing him a range, and indeed readers, a range of different scenes involving people celebrating Christmas. And importantly, he shows us not just the wealthy, but the poor, and even those experiencing difficult circumstances, and still, within those difficult circumstances, finding Christmas joy and togetherness. So Dickens uses this spirit in the early portions of this stave to show the universality of Christmas joy, how people, regardless of circumstance, can find community and warmth even in hardship. One of the most important stops on this journey is the humble home of Bob Cratchit and the Cratchit family. Now, Bob Cratchit, of course, is Scrooge's underpaid clerk. The Cratchits live in poverty, but they cherish one another and they make the most of what little they have. They prepare a modest Christmas meal with love and care, and their joy for one another and for Christmas, is infectious. We also meet Tiny Tim, Bob's youngest son, who is frail and walks with the aid of a crutch. Despite his physical weakness, Tiny Tim is full of spirit and hope. His very famous words, "God bless us everyone," capture the emotional heart of the novella. When Scrooge asks the spirit if Tiny Tim will live, the ghost delivers a haunting reply, a hammer blow, we might say. If things do not change, the child will die. And then, in a devastating echo, the spirit throws Scrooge's own words back at him. If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. There's the human face, the humanity of the dehumanized surplus population that Scrooge mentions so callously back in Stave 1. This is a crucial moment. For the first time, Scrooge is really forced to confront the cruelty of his past attitudes. Dickens uses this emotional contrast between Scrooge's earlier callous indifference and the innocence and the purity and the goodness of Tiny Tim to deepen Scrooge's sense of guilt and indeed recognition of his own past attitudes. Next, Scrooge is shown his nephew Fred's Christmas party. Fred and his guests are playing games, they're laughing, and in fact they're even making light-hearted jokes about Scrooge. And yet, Fred, lovely, wonderful Fred, speaks with warmth about his uncle, insisting that he continues to invite him because I pity him. He pities his misanthropic uncle Scrooge. Scrooge, observing the fun that he has rejected for so long, feels left out and perhaps a little ashamed. But the tone really darkens at the end of this stave. We've got a really crucial moment. It would be in pretty much any single essay you would need to write about this novella. As the spirit ages, a reminder that Christmas present is fleeting, it's transient, he reveals two dreadful figures hiding beneath his robe: ignorance and want. These personifications of social ills personified as children, are ragged, starved, frightening. They symbolize society's neglect of the poor and uneducated. And Dickens uses them to send a warning to readers: beware them both, says the spirit, but most of all, beware this boy. The boy, ignorance, is particularly dangerous because a society that fails to educate and care for all, particularly children, faces moral and social collapse. Just before the stave ends, Scrooge asks whether the two children have no refuge. Have they no refuge or resource? The ghost turns again, Scrooge's own words, against him. Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses? And with that bitter echo, the ghost of Christmas present vanishes. So it's in Stave 3 that we see Dickens really deepening Scrooge's transformation. The cheerful celebrations and loving families show Scrooge what he's missing, but also what others lack. The warning is clear. If he, Scrooge, remains unchanged, lives like Tiny Tim's may be lost, and society itself will suffer. In our next episode, we're going to explore Stave 4, where Scrooge faces the most terrifying spirit yet, the ghost of Christmas yet to come. So until then, keep reading, keep thinking, keep reflecting, keep listening to all of the podcast episodes related to A Christmas Carol in order to deepen and enrich our knowledge, ready for our return in September, where we begin the important, critical process of preparing for our English literature GCSE exams.